knights, the stalwart protectors of the people, standing tall and mighty, ready to give their lives for the greater good. Vikings, children of the snow, raiding and pillaging for glory, family, and for the sake of the adventure. And finally, the samurai. For Honor, the game you get when combining these three warriors to a single world, making them duke it out. What are they fighting for? Who cares? It's knights versus Vikings versus samurai. What more could one ask for? But since I'm a sucker for fairy tales around the table with my fellow warriors, let's have a look at the story mode. Okay, so the narrative is split into 3 chapters, which have 6 missions each. The first one follows the knights, who attack the barbarians up north, then the Vikings, who goes for the Japanese for some awesome loot, and then it all ends with the samurai, going ham against the Knights of the Round Table. Now why would they suddenly start a conflict with their neighbors? I mean, sure, the raiders are easy to understand, but the samurai? I thought they only cared about their own land. And what of the knights? They're protectors, aren't they? Well, most of the time. The reason for this conflict, the reason for this war is Apollyon, warlord of the Blackstone Legion. That's an awesome title, I have to say, and it's also a rather badass look. Seriously, she could be a model. But who is this Dark Knight? And why does she want to create, what she calls it, an age of wolves? Well, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's the fact that one must look to the past to figure out someone, at least to a degree. So, let's go further back into history. In the world of For Honor. 20 years before the full war between the 3 factions started, depicted in a multiplayer mode happened, bear with me, as the story mode tells its narrative as a story. The Vikings were about to defeat the mighty Iron Legion, which was the most powerful knight group, if you will, in Ashfeld. The war against these barbarians had lasted for a while, and the Legion understood that the enemy would come in with a mighty horde soon. And with the Iron Legion being in its position that they were, they knew that they did not have the manpower to protect everyone. And one day, one lawbringer, a keeper of justice, arrived to one simple village to judge the denizens if they're worth protecting. Normal people lived there, living normal lives, owning normal homes, enjoying what little they had. But for whatever reason, the man deemed them unworthy and wrote to safety from the dragons of the sea. And the men, women and children were slaughtered like sheep, never standing a chance against the horror from the north. But some did survive. One being a young girl who saw her home, family, and life taken by force. Yes, this girl was the person who would become the cruel obsidian warlord. Sitting amongst the burning ruins of her reality, she realized that she earned something from that experience. A lesson that scorched itself into her mind like the fire that took her village. Only the strong survives, as people either are predator or prey. Knowing that she would die without doing something, she did what she had to do by going into crime. What she did is unclear, yet the backstory states that she learned combat through her experience as a criminal, and therefore I believe that there's a high possibility that she either was a bandit or a highwayman. We can actually see in her combat moves that some of it is a bit rawer than the more formulaic techniques that a regular warden would use, slamming the dark blade down with one hand, using sheer force trying to cleave her enemies in half. It is also highly likely that during her time as a scoundrel, she must have lost a lot of empathy for people. Sure, seeing everything you love being burned away will make her a friend with death, but I am certain that incident alone wasn't what got her into the mindset of a world split into the weak and the strong. We do know that she indeed was given some proper training, as she served as a soldier and later a warden, who lives by the oath of protecting the people of the land. And we do know that the warmonger herself thinks highly of the oath.
The oaths of a warden reach far beyond what any common Legion warrior can live up to.
At the age of 16, her life would truly change forever, as she found the man who doomed her village all those years ago. Ambushing him, she dragged his bloodied body to the streets where she publicly executed him. Now this shows that she indeed had a personal agenda that stemmed from emotion and not ambition. And I know what you're thinking. Of course she wanted him dead. He was the reason for her family's death. But her later actions show us not that of an individual's vendetta, but more of someone's twisted view on the world. But we'll return to that later. After killing the Lawbringer, she took his armor to a blacksmith, asking if they could refit it, so that she could stand tall in the dark armor, reminding herself of what she is, a wolf, while also warning those around her of what will happen to those who would use the law against the strong, as she believes that one chooses if they are sheep or a what? She got that armor at the age of 16. Wait, how is that possible? Well, I mean, look how tall she is! Now, I wonder how many times she's used the law in her favor, as possibly every man on Earth thought that she was legal. I mean, look at her! Okay, you know what? Screw it. I analyze the individual's psyche, not physical nature. Years went by as the Iron Legion ruled Ashfeld in disinterest as they focused their battle against the bearded warriors, the Legionnaires being on the losing end it seemed. The warlord to-be and 14 other knights banded together to form a new legion, the Blackstone Legion. They did this on a mountain where they found obsidian, carving it out into a round table, hence the name. And the earlier Knights of the Round Table joke.
Blackstone. Blackstone.
Blackstone! It's only a model.
20 years went by, and the title of Warlord of the Blackstone Legion passed from one person to the other between the founders. Everyone who got the title died either because of their blindness, weakness, or their sense of nobility. But then the village girl, turned bandit, turned soldier, turned warden, took the mantle of the 8th Warlord. The difference between her and the previous 7? She was strong. She survived. The Warlord and the 7 living founders then took up demon names to distance themselves from who they once were, and to warn and remind the world that they were strong and that they know what they want with that strength. Apollyon was this demon's name.
It means destroyer.
And only a handful of people knows the true name behind that dark, gruesome helmet. Controlling now the vicious and ambitious legion, she, with her minions, decided that it was time to push the world back into its natural state, plunging it into an age of wolves. Realizing that they need a lot of manpower to do so, Apollyon and her Blackstone Legion started to push back the Vikings from Ashfeld, and while doing so, taking dominance over the Iron Legion, the Night Legion, which was partially responsible for what once happened, having them submit to her group, being under her, as she obviously would hold animosity towards those under that banner. Now, there are a couple of facts that are difficult to pinpoint in the timeline of her journey, as the Black Knight herself narrates some interesting information throughout the story. For example, she spent a lot of time around those the knights would have considered enemies, meeting a female Viking, talking about their culture, speaking with a monk who told her that true peace is the product of one's mind and body working in perfect harmony.
A battlefield, then, is one of the most peaceful places you can be.
And a battlefield she would have. 1 year before it all begins, she brings the Blackstones together, telling them what they will do, what they will force upon the world. Apollyon, who has seen the worst of it, realized that one chooses to be strong or weak, that through someone's decision, they could force the world to make sense. So the Blackstone Legion will do just that. Force it into war, to save the warriors who have forgotten what they truly are. Wolves. Of course, not everybody liked that idea, causing deserters. To root out one of these betrayers, Hervis Dobny, who had taken from the Obsidian group as he ran away, Apollyon sent her second in command, one of the founders, Asmodai, whose real name is Holden Cross, and a small army to punish said betrayer. However, as this lawbringer got into the fort, he met a warden, who stood steadfast to protect those inside. Seeing the Protector's abilities and tenacity as she defeated his second, the co-founder knighted the Warden and inducted her into the powerful Legion. Yet while the Warlord and the Lawbringer found the knight to be worthy, sending her alone to act as a reinforcement for a small Iron Needle battle against the Vikings, allowing her to gain the Friendship of Stone, she herself realized quite quickly that something was off with the Blackstone Legion. Hanging soldiers and leaving powerless people to die. Sound familiar? Of course, while a warden's oath is not easily severed, she did indeed want to speak with some of the deserters who left the Legion. This ended up in a fight, which ended up introducing one of our heroes with her. Saving the Warden and the Conqueror, even showing mercy towards the deserters, one would think that she might be redeemable. Yet of course, 2 knights just had to attack her, which I guess means that they will have to...
Welcome to the Blackstone Legion.
This is pretty much how Apollyon decides on who is allowed to live or not, looking for those who would not hesitate to kill or be killed trying, rather than to submit without a fight. She doesn't do this just with the knights, as when the plans kick into gear, wanting to show the Vikings what they truly are, she has Holden Cross lead the attack against the warriors in Valkenheim, where they go through this process against the barbarians. Heck, she even lets the lone Viking of Stamford Bridge live.
Master, this beast killed at least 40 soldiers, including Davis.
40. Well done.
I'm serious, search him up, he's quite a badass. One thing not being so badass, however, is how Apollyon is planning on creating war within the Viking faction itself. Attacking Svengord, home of the Northern Horde, the Blackstone Legion kills a massive size of those living inside, burning down houses and the storage of food, which was supposed to be shared to every Viking clan. Gudmundur, the legendary Jarl, looking at his home in hopelessness, as even with all his strength, he still lost everything. Not only does this action create a lot of infighting between the Viking clans, but it also severs the tie between the Warden and the Legion, which later would come to be one of the biggest reasons for the fall. Yet, as quickly as her plan began, the Master of Blackstone stayed quiet for years, observing the Vikings from a distance, enjoying the view of them killing each other for what little food was left, which I am quite certain she gets off of. However, where she expected the war to last for a long time, a certain raider, legendary,
Outstanding.
started unifying the clans. What she did expect, however, was that she knew they eventually would reclaim the harbor from her legion, where they would find chests filled with loot that apparently came from the land of the samurai. We know that she might have done this, as she states that the best way of triggering war everywhere is by recruiting their enemies.
We cannot hope to trigger war everywhere.
We can, if we recruit our enemies to the cause.
And seeing that she indeed show up again at the Emperor's City, we can easily understand that everything went according to plan. Executing the false emperor, the destroyer asks 20 daimyo, who are pretty much powerful feudal lords, on who would be interested in the throne. 5 of them said they were willing to take it, having 15 others killed. And again, the one who shows the most defiance ends up being favored by her. So seriously, what the hell is she?
War. I am war.
I mean, I can see that. One powerful force, unstoppable when trying to defeat it alone, but is that all to her? A personification of war? The 3 main characters are without a doubt representations of their factions. A knight willing to go through lengths to protect her people, a Viking whose pride for their land unifies it through force, and a samurai who stands steadfast and loyal to their lord. But the thing is, the 3 protagonists do not have a backstory, at least not compared to our warlord over here. So what's her deal? Apollyon is indeed war personified. She only wants war, meaning that there is no end goal to her plans, which can be seen as when Ayu and her friends are reclaiming the palace, the Dark Lord claims her dissatisfaction of not having been there to witness the splendor, as she again expected the battle to last longer.
I wish that I had been there that day, to see the daimyo Ayu and her army lay siege to their own palace. I only wish it had taken longer.
And just as she represents a powerful enemy, her fall is exactly as we have had it with real threats throughout history. People working together to beat the big bully. However, that is what Apollyon is, the demon. But what about the girl under the rusted worn helmet? It is all clear as the game gets close to its end. As word has gotten to Ashfeld that the samurai are on their way to them, Apollyon invited the people to her Blackstone fortress. As she states herself,
The samurai were coming. The citizens of Ashfeld had long left the wilderness for the safety of my walls, for we are their protectors, are we not?
why would she do this? After all, she has a twisted view on the world of wolves and sheep, and she definitely views the regular people as the latter one. She even states that civilizations burn wherever she goes.
Wherever we go, the peaceful life that is called civilization scatters. It is a social agreement that is so easily dissolved.
And if she truly wanted to protect them, why block every single escape route in her castle? It is all because of one single reason. One thing that has haunted her for years, where Apollyon wants war. The girl wanted to prove to herself that she could save everyone from an overwhelming force. Apollyon showed happiness as the Iron Legion and the Dawn Empire went together to burn down her home. Her determination was not set on having them war each other, but to win against that horde of enemies. The individual who once lost everything took in the weak people who could not defend themselves. She blocked every escape route as she would not flee like the previous owner of her armor once did, as she will not have someone using the law against the strong.
My war has come home, at last. I have defended the lower tiers. Now I have been forced back into the upper levels. I will not flee from it. We will win or die.
Face justice. I'll pass.
I will win.
But she fails. The Emperor's champion being too much for her. She failed as the protector of her home, but she won as the final warlord of the Blackstone Legion. Indeed, her mind has witnessed so much cruelty and evil that all she sees in mankind is the constant need for conflict. And she was right. As the Vikings arrived, the knights and samurai turned on each other, as Apollyon's ambition created a conflict between all of them. Yet while Apollyon, the warlord, indeed wanted people to go to war, the one behind the helmet was someone who could not move on from what once happened. Trapped in her failures, she was strong, yet powerless to stop what happened, which is why every time she won against a powerful enemy, she would take mementos from those victories to her fortress, which is filled with other banners of legions who she had pushed under her, all to tell herself that she survived and that she could take on everyone, to prove only to herself, the girl inside the dark armor of the Lawbringer, that with what she has become, she would have won. And that is the mind of Apollyon.
My wolves. We all want to be remembered.
You see this game? That game's the reason for why there haven't been a video lately. A couple of other factors like my birthday, yay, and being up in the mountain, but this one, damn, I have a video I want to make on this. Thank you for watching. It should have come out 1 week after my For Honor review, but because of that game, my birthday, going up to the mountain, procrastinating, is that the right word? You know, you can see it in my body, you know, or around my hair, I've got my long hair. 14,000 subscribers. I haven't thanked anyone yet about all of the immense boosts. I mean, I've kind of quickly on Twitter said thank you, but 14,000, thank you. So many of you have shown kind of an interest in what I do, and it truly means a lot to me. It really is a motivator to continue making content and hoping that I will improve so I can keep entertaining you, and hopefully we can, you know, continue upward and build ourselves up, and it's all thanks to you. Thank you, you made me really happy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm KingJ.Grim, or the KingJgames, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next week. I promise I will get a haircut. Thank you. By the way, Beauty and the Beast is a great movie.